Hello, my name is Benjamin Hart. I'm an American attorney and the Managing Director of Integrity Legal here in Bangkok, Thailand. As the title of this video suggests, we're discussing U.S. tourist visas. There are a lot of misnomers regarding U.S. tourist visas out there, and I oftentimes will be talking to clients, prospective clients, folks, I'll be corresponding with, and they've got a lot of misconceptions about how the actual U.S. tourist visa process works. One, there's a misconception or a misperception out there that to get a tourist visa, you just walk on down to the embassy and knock on the door and go in and fill out a form and apply for a tourist visa, and they kind of look you over and they may want a photo, and then that person who's seeking a tourist visa just signs something and they issue the tourist visa. And that's not really how it works at all. First of all, appointments for tourist visas are almost a year out. It's months and months before you get an appointment to even get it right now. And hopefully, as we move further through 2022 and the memory of all of this pandemic-related restrictions sort of recede into the background, which can not happen any faster than, it can't happen fast enough, I guess. But as this sort of recedes, question becomes, are we still going to see this long kind of backlogs? That's a good question. But even then, tourist visa appointments still would take usually 6, 8, sometimes 10 weeks to get locked in when dealing with the system, even under optimal circumstances. And then another big misconception, this especially is the case where someone's in a relationship with a Thai national, usually a Thai lady. We see folks that, they'll just apply for a tourist visa and they're really fascinated, or fascinated is the wrong word, they're really frustrated that there was virtually no adjudication. Well, there was no adjudication because of what's called Section 214B. As I've discussed in other videos, Section 214B of the Immigration Nationality Act creates a standard by which the consular officer has to be sufficiently satisfied that the applicant has sufficient strong ties to their home country, in this case Thailand, or another country outside the United States, and this is key, sufficient weak ties to the United States. So a big misconception we see is, folks that, hey, I want to take my girlfriend to the U.S., well, you got a relationship with an American citizen. That mitigates against that weak ties analysis. So the thing to take away from this video is there's a lot of misconceptions on U.S. tourist visas, especially about the way the process works. And there's especially a misunderstanding out there that the denial, I hate saying this because I don't want this to come off the wrong way, but there really is no other way to say it. In cases where there's a relationship with an American, the denial under Section 214B is almost automatic. There's really nothing further to think about for the consular officer under that circumstance. And this can be really frustrating because people will put together big packages to apply for a tourist visa, and the consular officer will just ignore it all. Because under 214B, it's this weak ties analysis that's a real issue. Also, you have to keep in mind what's called the doctrine of consular absolutism, or the doctrine of consular non-reviewability. And what this means is that adjudicating consular officers' factual findings cannot be appealed. They cannot be reviewed. In fact, there's a Supreme Court case on this where the court said, look, we're not going to get in the business of second-guessing consular officers posted abroad. That's just not what we're going to do. And that's been the binding precedent ever since. And that's what you're dealing with in issues pertaining to 214B. So the thing to take away from this video is, one, if you're just looking at a tourist visa, especially for a significant other here in Thailand, maybe think again, because you may just be throwing money away and wasting time. Again, though, circumstances may vary. There may be circumstances where it may be a viable option. But the thing to understand is that every case is different. But when it comes to 214B, again, under these circumstances where you're talking about relationships with an American citizen, that's a high threshold to overcome, and quite frankly, it's very rarely overcome.